I don't have the space for all of these outfits anymore. We need to get rid of them. And I was like, no, you can't get rid of them because if you give it to a thrift store, realistically, it'll end up in the landfill. You can't toss it out. It'll end up in the landfill. So we even tried looking into temples. Temples don't really accept them. So there's no good place to really give South Asian clothes. And after a lot of contemplating, I'm like, why don't I just create a platform? There's Poshmark, there's Depop, Pickle, Red the Runway. Why not have Revare, its very own South Asian marketplace platform?
Hi, everyone. I am here with my friend Aria Gupta on the podcast today. Aria, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Cass. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Aria Gupta. I am the founder of Revare, an online marketplace platform. It's basically a peer-to-peer website currently and soon to be app for all things South Asian clothing.
Awesome. And we actually met in a fun way. I think you just messaged me on Instagram and I was like, oh, who's this cool girl? Yeah, we'll grab coffee. And you were so sweet. And so I want to hear a little bit about where you're from. You live here in New York, right?
I do. Originally, I'm from Virginia. I was born and raised in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. So basically have been there my entire life. I went to the University of Virginia even, and then after graduation, I decided to move up here. So I've been here for about 3-4 years now.
And can you tell us a little bit about I was trying to get ahead of myself a little bit because I'm like, I want to hear all about Revare, yes, how cool it is. But yeah, can you tell me a little bit about your background? Because I think that kind of leads into the story of how you founded Revare. So
yeah, of course. So by ethnicity, I'm Indian, I'm South Asian, and growing up, my mom had tons of outfits, saris, lehengas, predominantly those that were my grandmother's who has passed since then, but we have so many nice timeless pieces that are gold threaded and silk saris, and after a lot of contemplating, my mom kind of wanted to downsize. She was moving from the East Coast to Austin, Texas, and she was like, I don't have the space for all of these outfits anymore. We need to get rid of them. And I was like, no, you can't get rid of them because if you give it to a thrift store, realistically, it'll end up in the landfill. You can't toss it out. It'll end up in the landfill. So we even tried looking into temples. Temples don't really accept them. So there's no good place to really give South Asian clothes. And after a lot of contemplating, I'm like, why don't I just create a platform? There's Poshmark, there's Depop, Pickle, Red the Runway. Why not have Revare, its very own South Asian marketplace platform? So that's kind of where I was born. I gave it a few months and my mom was like, okay, you're crazy, but go ahead, do whatever you need to. She ended up moving to Austin. So she's like, can you please figure out what you're going to do with all this? But essentially a lot of the inventory came from us. So my mom and I used to like model the outfits ourselves. We posted on the website and then eventually started expanding like friends and family. And then soon enough, strangers were starting to post.
And I think it's so cool. You have such a personal experience. You're addressing a problem that you yourself experienced, because I remember when we met, you were telling me that you had been a dancer, yes, right? Like a traditional dancer. So you had all these outfits and you were explaining to me that some of these, I don't want to butcher how you say the outfits. Can you say some of the
costumes? So for me, I was classically trained in a dance form called Bharatanatyam for 10 years. And then I was on the Ross and Garba team back in college. So that's a very like national collegiate circuit. We went to even nationals one of the years. So I have always just loved dance and I've had so many costumes throughout childhood. And you can imagine you're constantly growing. You can't keep buying a new outfit. And these outfits have to go all the way to India, get them stitched, tailored, measured, shipped back, or you have to go in person. And it's such a pain.
And you were saying that even some of them could be thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
These
Especially
outfits.
like the wedding outfits, they really get up into the thousands. Most of the ones were like hundreds growing up, but it's still a lot. And you never wear it after 1 or 2 times of performing in it or going to an event. And that's very common for South Asian people to just wear an outfit 1 or 2 times and then you never really see it again. It just goes in your closet.
Yeah, but these are also like, what struck me is there is a craftsmanship to these items. They're quite special. And just anecdotally, my own experiences going to thrift stores and secondhand shops, I very hardly see traditional saris and South Asian costumes. If I do see it, I see like 1 or 2 pieces in the whole store. So I thought it was really unique that you wanted to create this marketplace. You wanted to serve a community that you yourself are a part of. You saw a need. So yeah, tell us a little bit about, you started Revare 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And you started it while working a full-time job.
Yes.
So I think that is also unique. So do you want to share a little bit about how you balance the two and also take us back 2 years ago, your first baby steps founding it?
For sure. So right out of college, everyone kind of goes either the consulting path or business path, especially if you do a double major in econ and statistics and then then a minor in CS. That was just my background. And so for me, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go into finance, ended up in banking. Really soon, I realized banking was not for me. The hours were long. I was in person 5 days a week, and I was working from like 7 to midnight, basically on a day-to-day basis. Decided I wanted to use more of my technical background and decided to pivot a little bit. Started networking. I've always been entrepreneurial, and at that time, I even started an interior decorating business. So I had a client that was based in the West Village, and she asked me to do more of a South Asian decor space and happened to be a product manager. So I just mentioned, hey, I'm interested in product. Like, do you know anyone who's hiring? And she was like, yeah, I actually have a friend of mine. Ended up pivoting. That friend hired me and I went over to that bank as a product manager. Soon enough, after a few months, that bank actually collapsed during the whole financial banking crisis.
Yeah.
And my previous employer ended up acquiring them. So ended up being back at my previous employer. And during this time, all my colleagues were getting laid off. It was either you got laid off the same day, you got a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, or 12-month contract. I was one of the very lucky few that had a 12-month contract, but I didn't really have much work on my plate, to be honest. So I would do my day-to-day responsibilities. And then I was like, you know what? Let me start Revare. Now is a good time more than ever. I'm probably going to get laid off soon. So I decided to start Revare, and I guess the rest is history. And I've been doing it ever since.
Did you know that you wanted to do this, maintain your full-time job when you started Revare? How did you map it out? Because I think a lot of people have this idea that they see a problem, they want to address a need in the market.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a product idea and they're really passionate about it. But those first initial steps, I think people get really, like, I know a lot of people get caught up on naming the company and they're there for like 12 months.
Yeah.
Or like creating their logo for 14 months.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. I think that's really interesting.
For sure. I knew going in that this was going to be my passion project. I even told people, even to this day, I still call it my passion project, to be honest. But I wanted to do something that I was truly passionate about that didn't like work. And so at that point in time, I really wanted to focus on building my career in products because I knew I had so much to learn. And I have learned so much during my time with this company. So I've got to collaborate with design and tech teams as well. I've gotten to learn about how to use Figma, build out wireframes. Previously, when I built out Revare, I didn't know what Figma was. I had to learn how to do that all on my own. And now it's really helped that I've been able to apply the skills that I've learned on a day-to-day basis at work and also do that as well. And then they also pay for certifications, which is really nice. So I'm right now taking courses at HBS. So that has been really helpful for me to kind of guide my process and learn a lot as much as possible from corporate, because I know once I'm kind of done with corporate, I don't think I would necessarily go back. Eventually, I've always considered myself entrepreneurial, and I've always figured that eventually one day I'll do my own thing. It's just a matter of when. So right now I'm like a sponge. I'm trying to absorb as much as possible within corporate.
And I think it's so smart because I think that when you're starting a business, especially on the digital marketing side of things, which is just where my career is in, there is actually a ton of capital involved in media buys and getting the website and getting I know you're working on your app. I think a lot of people don't understand how much time and money goes into that.
Yeah.
And even if you do it really smart and you leverage people in your network and people you trust to build out like an MVP product, it can still be scary if that's like your only source of income
100%.
or if that's the only thing you're focusing on. So I feel like in your case, I thought it was really interesting that you decided to start Revare while you were still in your full-time role. So I also think that there's some interesting ties to the skill sets that you have that you're developing in your role and how that uniquely benefits Revare.
Yeah.
So maybe we can spend a little bit of time talking about what a product manager is, because product management right now is a really big topic online. There's a lot of Google trend reports, like it's got a lot of search volume, like people I think are really interested in product management as a career, but it can mean very different things depending on context. So I know you work for a banking company. What does it mean within finance?
Yep. A great question. So I have now had 2 product roles at 2 separate banks. And my first role, I had a very mature product. It was a billing payments and solutions product. Kind of boring, to be honest, but it taught me a lot on how to engage clients, how to work with a sales team, how to market our product itself. And then on the other hand, right now, what I'm doing is a little bit more applicable, where I work with AI and LLM tools. So all my products, I manage 6 products currently on a day-to-day basis. And I get to learn so much about how the life cycle of our product from end to end. So right now I'm in the ideation process of, okay, what do I want to build? What are the requirements? What does it take? Do I need like a tech team? Do I need a design team? Who's going to be helping me build this out? What's the budget going to look? When do we need this done by? Q2, Q3? those kind of conversations we need to have. And so eventually we get to go through this whole process together with our team and collaborate. So it's very much like almost like the middleman talking to all of these teams saying like, hey, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me. And then we all are able to collaborate and create a product at the end. So right now I built out like a AI chatbot that basically determines like a code when you're like onboarding a client, for example. So my specialty is all about like the onboarding space and becoming a client for ultra to high net worth clients.
Okay, very cool. And it's also interesting because you don't have, I mean, actually you have a minor in CS, in computer science, because I was going to say actually you do have a technical background, but it wasn't like you entered banking and then you pivoted. And I think that story of like you got a job with someone doing your interior design, like then that's how you got the connect into product management. So it kind of speaks, I think, to also like how important it is to network in lots of different contexts. Because even in your passion project in your interior design business, that was also an avenue from which you could find resources to learn how to pivot into product management, which is different than your interior design. I think that's so interesting. So with Revare, you touched on this a little bit about how it sounds like you have a cross-functional role at your banking company as a product manager. You're talking to sales, marketing, you're talking to designers. How does that translate into Revare? Because I think there's like plenty of areas that could translate, but I'll let you kind of talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Number one, working with like the tech teams, I have learned so much writing out JIRAs and setting
What's
up.
JIRA?
For those that don't know, JIRA is basically a board where you kind of communicate with your developer. You'll have a weekly or daily stand up with them, discuss what you're going to do for the next sprint. A sprint is usually like 2 weeks, but essentially I'll set the requirements for them. I'm like, I need you to do this for me, and this is how you do it. And then they'll actually do it for me. So that's kind of nice. But it doesn't get super technical for my role specifically. I know there are a lot of technical PMs, so I'm very fortunate enough that I didn't have to get into the nitty-gritty details. So it's been nice that I've been able to work with tech on that side, but also just seeing how testing goes. I think that's been really applicable for Revare, because I am a website / like platform. So when it comes to that, I have to make sure every single square inch of that real estate space is working. So login buttons, payment portals, all kinds of stuff. So I need to test through and through. And so for me, I've learned a lot about testing on my apps that I use on a day-to-day basis at my company right now.
Would you say anything translates? I know it's banking industry, and then you've got this consumer-facing product component marketplace, but best practices with like user experience. Do you think?
For sure. No, user experience definitely is one thing, because if you think about it, the role that I am in now, I used to be the user. I was the analyst before who was using those products initially, and now I'm the person that is the product manager creating and solving the issues that the analysts were facing previously. So I was the user, and now I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm able to help them out. So I kind of understand both ends. And even with Revare, I'm also the user, but I'm also on the other end of like solving the problem. So I understand the target audience and who I'm actually trying to get this product out to. So I've been able to really figure out the user journey and the flow, which I've been able to experience over time.
Yeah. We actually sat down and she told me the whole story of Revare's founding and her first baby steps, but I think it's really important to talk about the tech component too. So website first, right? Can you talk a little bit about the first iteration of your website? Yeah. And who built that? And,
Yes. So first iteration of my website, I kept going back and forth if I should do app or website, but obviously with an app, it's super expensive. You have to think of the iOS, the Android, compatibility,
marketing them on the app marketplaces, which is a whole thing.
Exactly. And so for me, that was my passion project. I didn't really want to invest too much money up front. So I was like, let me just do a website. That's like the safe bet. And I kind of was looking around, seeing if I could maybe do it myself. I explored maybe like Shopify or one of those like out of the box solution type websites. Decided actually it's a marketplace. It's a little bit more complicated than like a typical e-commerce platform, where I want to have like profiles and users and whatnot. So it added a few extra complexities, and decided maybe I should go like the Fiverr, Upwork route and hire someone. So I interviewed a bunch of people and found someone that I actually liked, and they were able to build out my website. And since then I've been able to make some integrations and improvements, but right now I'm like, app is the way to go. So I've done it for 2 years, and that's my next step.
Okay, so what is the website built on right now? What are like the basics?
Yeah, we actually had to use a bunch of plugins, but ultimately I ended up using WordPress, surprisingly. So I didn't think I would be using WordPress, but it ended up being the best option for me, where it was still affordable, because a lot of these plugins typically have multiple fees and charges, and it adds up.
Yeah,
Especially
totally.
if you're not making sales off the bat.
And I think it's smart also to go your taking baby steps, going with a platform that wasn't, because I think a lot of business owners that I run into in my work, they will get sold into a huge enterprise integration or installation, and they're tied in and they have this long contract and they don't have the cash flow yet. And what they really should be doing is what you chose to do, which is to have this first iteration of the website. You're collecting a lot of great data. At this point, you've got a pretty good user base. And so now you're at the point of launching your app. You have a lot of learnings from which to launch the app. And I think it's smart that you're making the investment after having collected some learnings so that the investment is made a little more carefully, a little bit more strategically with better ROI. Because when you're first starting out, you're still in the testing, collecting 100%. Phase. Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have even tried to enter the market and tap into this, but no one has been able to really do it successfully, at least in the South Asian space. There have been more like Western American competitors, but so far no one that has really done it successfully, because it is so expensive up front to do this marketplace platform, to market yourself, to be passionate about it. You need to have insane grit to be in this market space.
And an understanding, you grew up in this, you were a performer yourself. You were just telling me a minute ago, like you're going to a lot of weddings where people are South Asian weddings. And so you're such a perfect person to be doing this. So tell us a little bit about your approach to marketing Revare and tell us about how many users you have. And
Great question. So right now we've been marketing mostly organically through social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even a little bit of LinkedIn, I guess. So I've been able to really hone in on creating more authentic content. I feel like just me talking to the camera, that has really done the best, honestly. I actually just went public recently on my own personal account. So I'm trying to also build up my brand as a founder and showcase the behind the scenes of what it takes to build Revare and my background. So that way consumers can trust me and get to know me rather than me just being a face behind Revare. And I think it's really helped. And it's nice to see when people like DM me and ask me like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. How can I support in any way? Want to model for you or like collaborate? And that's actually one of the things that helped us really grow our brand, was through open model calls. I really wanted to hone in on the community aspect of it. I feel like a lot of brands, they'll give to like influencers or celebrities. And for me, I wanted to give back to my community. And so I would just say, hey, if anyone wants to model for me, like come model for me. Because right now it's just me and my mom. And that ended up going viral. I got 500 applications for just one photo shoot, and I ended up doing so many of them last year, and it was so much fun. I got to meet amazing people throughout the way, and they truly cared about the mission and the cause than honestly any other collaboration that I could have done.
Yeah. And so how many users do you have on the platform today?
We have now close to 1,000.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. And this is all based on organic social.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You haven't run any ads yet.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Really good. Yeah. Oh, you're doing so good. So how are you, whenever you are making changes to the website, you're still utilizing the same Fiverr person? And has your team grown beyond you yet?
I have had, honestly, if it wasn't for my community, I would not be where I am today. I'm very thankful and grateful to everyone who has been supporting me, especially my mom. She has been the biggest help. She's the one who sometimes will ship out the outfits. She's the one who will like drive around picking up donations if needed.
Makeshift warehouse in Austin, Texas is her mom's house.
Exactly. And then also my friends. I think a lot of them have come to help me with whether that be modeling for my outfits or helping me with social media content creation. But I've always had them kind of just in intermediate time periods. Now I'm potentially looking to like have someone a little bit more long term. That way it's more scalable and whatnot. But it's been really helpful to have that connection, especially like people from my college. I've even had others reach out to me saying that they would love to like develop my app or about with socials. And that means a lot to me, to be honest. I just like hired like 2 people to help me out with designs. So it's been great to have them and have an actual UI and UX perspective, because I was a designer beforehand and I was designing our website. So I want to make sure that this time I do it right if I'm going to do it. And it's been really helpful to see their perspective on things. And they were able to do like a whole like competitor analysis and see what features we want to include. Maybe there's like AI implementation coming soon. So those kind of things as well.
And what sort of, I know that you have your own lived experience of being part of the community that you're reaching, that you're addressing, but what other sort of sources of data did you have? Because I think it's really interesting, especially as things progress more in the development of your app. I'm really curious as a business owner where you're collecting your data from and how you're processing this information and making decisions from it, especially with regard to things like marketing or user experience.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly started off listening to a lot of like podcasts, doing a lot of research, trying to see who is in the space right now and is it hard for me to get into the space. And I came across a lot of like founder podcasts and they really helped me hone in. One of the podcasts I listened to was the founder of Pickle, and she mentioned that she was running around doing deliveries on her own. And I literally started laughing because I'm like, I do that. I literally deliver some of my packages on my own. So I was able to really like hone in on just doing market research, seeing what's out there, seeing their numbers, how many users they have on each platform, what are the sales looking at. Like I remember seeing Poshmark's valuation and it was absurdly crazy to me at that time. I was like, that is insane. And I'm probably just like a fraction of that market share, but that's still a big market share. So for me, I was like, I truly am passionate. So let me just see what happens.
And I think it was something that was interesting to me when we met and you were talking about people's conception of basically the communities that wear these clothes. It's so much more broad ranging than people might think. Because I think you were talking about, people in South Asia, but there's like people all over. Can you talk a little bit about like, because there's such a huge community basically that wears these clothes and that identify culturally with these products. So
for sure. So within South Asia is a very broad term. That's actually one of the themes for one of our photo shoots that we did. Essentially, I wanted to showcase every single type of South Asian. So it's not only just Indian or Nepali or Bangladeshi or Pakistani. There's so many. We're even forgetting about like the Indo-Caribbean sometimes. So like I wanted to make sure that everyone had a platform and a voice here at Revare, and that was really important to me. And also nowadays there's more interracial weddings. My uncle literally married his wife and she happens to be Mexican, and now they have a son named Raul. He's very cute and 5 years old. But essentially like I'm attending a lot of my friends' weddings too, and a lot of the guests want to wear like South Asian attire, and we love to see them also incorporate our culture and be a part of our festivities as well. So for them, I wanted to make it easily accessible and affordable. That way they don't have to go all the way to Jersey to get like an outfit for $300 for one time that they're going to wear. They can just rent it out for a fraction of the price.
And like really great quality pieces too. That are beautiful and way more accessible. So with regard to balancing the two, how do you have time? Like you live in New York too. I feel like this city is such a stimulation overload. How are you staying sane and pushing Revare forward while also keeping a full-time job?
That's a great question. Sometimes I ask myself that too. Essentially, I make sure to have my me time scheduled in, whether that be going to the sauna daily or having my acupuncture appointment every week. I take some time for self-care, and that has to be on a weekly basis because I will not be functioning the way that I am. So I'll have time set aside where I don't look at my phone. I'll just be in the sauna, either reading a book or just relaxing. I might even take a nap if I need to, but it's a good way of me scheduling my time as well. So I prioritize things. So for work, I'm like, okay, I know it's 8 to 6. I'm going to focus on work. And then after 6 till whenever, I'm going to focus on Revare or social activities. And I book myself. So like on the weekends, I might sit at like a Capital One cafe and I'll just say, hey, this friend come meet me here. This person meet me here. I'll meet this person there. I met you at Capital One cafe. So for me, I'm like all about scheduling. I'm all about my Google Calendar. I have to make sure that everything is up to date. If I have to wake up a little bit early some mornings, I'll do it if that's what it means for Revare. But the nice thing is, because it's just me and I'm building my company, it's kind of on my own timeline. So no one's really setting expectations and deadlines besides myself. So for me, I'd set my hard deadlines and say that, okay, I'm launching the app by the end of the summer. That's my goal. So
well, I think that it's pretty remarkable, your user base. 2 years is not a long time to have that many users. So were there any like unlocks that you can speak to? I mean, I experienced this on a very baby scale with the podcast where like certain things I'll be like, oh wow, people are really interested in this, and I see that based on engagement or like following. In your case, I'm wondering if you saw anything that surprised you or were interesting learnings, jumps in the user base or jumps in your engagement in reaction to things you did. You mentioned the one like marketing campaign where you did a call for models. So that was one. Were there any others?
It was very time consuming, but I would individually Facebook message people. That was one of the ones where I saw direct results. As soon as I would see someone post in one of those like Facebook groups saying, hey, I have an outfit to sell or I'm looking for an outfit to buy, I would either send them a Revare link or I would message them and say, hey,
do you have any social listening tools that you're using for that? Have you automated this? So like that's so much time to do that. That's crazy.
I did this like very like beginning.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, let me just like reach out to individual people because I was like, I don't know at this point what I'm doing. So I'm just going to try. These people look for outfits. I might as well give them the outfits that they're looking for. So they'll be like, I'm looking for a white lehenga that's for a bridal event. And I had one. So I'm like, here you go. And it honestly kind of works because I was directly giving them what they were looking for without them having to search through this entire WhatsApp group or Facebook group because everything's so cluttered and disorganized. You lose so many of the listings so fast.
Which Facebook groups did you look at?
There's a lot of different ones. There's one specifically for South Asian like clothing. So those are the ones that I kind of hopped in on.
In like major cities or something?
Yeah, in major city. Any ones that were, there's this one group called Little Brown Diary. It's called LBD. And it's basically just a bunch of South Asian girls who like, and there's subgroups and committees. And there's one that's like buy and sell specifically. So I joined on that. But I would also see some of my like competitors, I guess, like pop up too every now and then. And they'd be posting their like links and then I'll post my links. So they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting. So you saw these posts. Did you just like, you're a calendar girl, like you like to block things off. Yeah. Did you block off time every day? Like I'm going to spend an hour browsing through these groups so that I could like respond. Because for me, maybe I have a selfish reason for asking because for me, I've been very conscious about my mental space and like what's occupying. I don't want to be thinking about one thing, have it occupy outsized real estate in my brain. And so you want to allocate enough time and space to certain things that are important to you that are appropriate. So how do you accomplish that?
Yeah. So honestly, I would do it when I had free time or just like useless time. So it'd be like maybe during transportation. So like if I'm on the train, I might just be looking through and if I see something, then I'll send a message or it'll be like when I'm, I don't know, just waiting for something to cook or like in the oven. So it's on my own time where I don't really have something to do, but I don't want to do like a full project necessarily.
I like that because it feels less overwhelming.
Exactly.
Because I feel like there's so many things and this applies to anyone, honestly, not just someone who's starting a business, who is an entrepreneur, where you have so many little things in your life that don't take so much brain power, but they do take time and they do take some effort. And I think allocating that throughout your day in times when you're not working on anything else anyway is a good approach.
Yeah.
So that was another unlock for you. Anything else that was surprising? Did you learn anything from your users or your community since starting this journey?
Yeah, I am always constantly polling. I'll use like the little Instagram poll feature on all my stories and I'll say, what are your thoughts on XYZ? Like, do you want us to like build an app? I literally will ask my consumer base because that's a great way to collect data and resources. And for them, they love to have input. And I'm more than happy to like
you
listen
hear
to
that over and over again. Now I hear a lot of founder stories.
Yes.
It's like something that is mentioned by a couple women I've talked to as being an unlock is when they've created spaces of dialogue with their community. So those polls, very direct dialogue with you. Communicating on Facebook, even that is a dialogue. You're communicating with people directly. They're seeing your name crop up in these communities. That's so cool. And so tell me about the name Revare. It's such a pretty name. What does it mean? Break it down.
Yes. So Revare means to renew in Latin. It comes from the Latin word renovare. And for me, it's also kind of a pun on words because Indians sometimes can't pronounce the W's and the V's correctly. And they say rewear as Revare. So it's kind of a play on words.
That is cute.
Yeah. You can say
I thought that was really cute. And so when you decided on the name, what did you do? Actually explain the process of setting up a business. I think a lot of girls would like to hear that. Your LLC. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I honestly was like, okay, I don't know where to start, but I do know I need a name. And I need a logo. So I remember I was in India at this time visiting family and I had just thought of the idea and I'm like, okay, let me just do it since I have some free time here. And I played around with a bunch of names. I remember still like texting all my friends screenshots of should I do this? And eventually they picked Revare, they picked the logo, the colors and whatnot. And from there I was like, okay, what's next? What would I need? And for me, my parents honestly were like the most helpful people during this whole process because they're very entrepreneurial themselves. My mom has her own company. company, and then also her partner has his own company that they both started. So I've always been exposed to entrepreneurs, like even growing up. So for me, it almost came naturally where I just asked them and be like, what did you do next? Should I set up an LLC? What's an S Corp? What's a C Corp? Like, how does this work? How does taxes work? Do I get taxed from this? So I had a lot of questions from the get-go, but essentially I was like, okay, well, I got my logo, I got my designs. Now I need to build out a website. Now I need to get a domain. I need to figure out socials. Those were kind of like the most upfront things that I need to like figure out essentially.
And did you, as far as the official steps, did you hire a lawyer that you found online? Like, how do I register the business? Did you kind of self-serve in that way?
Since I'm bootstrapped, I do everything on my own. I will figure it out. I will Google to infinity and beyond. I will figure it out myself. So for me, it wasn't too difficult to like set that up and figure out how to, but there are services that do that. So if you need an easier way out, more kudos to you to do that, because honestly, it'll probably save you a lot of time. But for me at that time, I have some free time, so why don't I do it myself?
Do you do it over a weekend? Yeah. Just sitting down, like filling out a couple forms on a Saturday? Like, was it that? Okay. Yeah. So for those of you that are trying to start a business, that's the official steps. It's actually not that much, like over a weekend.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I think most people, who are starting a business are going to be bootstrapping. And especially right now in the market, it's a tough time to be raising funds. And what is on your roadmap for Revare this year? What are your goals? I guess if everything goes right, what do the next 5 years look like for Revare? I'm just kind of curious to see what your vision is for Revare can turn into.
Yeah, for sure. I would love for this to be a platform. I can already see the vision of the scalability process of it. So not only will it be like pre-loved clothing, but also like a platform for smaller designer brands that are South Asian focused, whether that be jewelry or clothing, whatnot, streetwear. I already have so many friends who are founders as well, and I would love to feature them on our platform. And then eventually like the dance circuit, like I mentioned, having Ross, Bhangra, Fusion, semi-classical all featured on the site as well. And then maybe even long-term wedding decor. I think that would be really cool. So basically you're one-stop shop for all things like South Asian clothing. But in the next 5 years, potentially might even consider raising. I would love to do like some sort of accelerator program. I've heard great things about it. I just met up with my friend who came back from YC and he loved it. And so I would be totally open to potentially doing a round for pre-seed/seed.
Cool. Great. So where is it looking like with your app? Do you know, are you targeting end of year going live with the app?
End of summer.
End of summer.
Yeah,
okay. So it's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you at right now? Do you have users testing it yet? Do you have wireframes?
We're in the process of building up the wireframe. So
okay. And also tell everyone what a wireframe is.
A wireframe is essentially a way to look at the app. It'll tell you the user stories. So essentially each portion of it will have all kinds of details. So it'll show you exactly what the app will look like, but it's a breakdown into different parts and pieces essentially.
Almost like steps. Yeah. And it's an outline of what the screen will look like in each step of a user flow. Yeah. Cool. And so you're in the wireframing phase. What is occupying your mind a lot these days? Where are the apps is right now? Like, are you finding yourself thinking a lot about like colors? Are you thinking, I know you listen to a lot of podcasts and your own researcher. I feel like my vibe with you is you figure things out on your own.
Yes.
You do a lot of research. You're not afraid to get your hands dirty and do it yourself. So I'm curious, with you being such a builder and a figure it out yourself type of chick, what is occupying your mental real estate right now as you are working on the wireframes for your app?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's really important to put out MVP that I'm proud of, essentially. I want to make sure that it is a product that actually works. Eventually, I can worry about the aesthetics, and I do love focusing on the aesthetic portion of it. That's always the fun part. But for me, I want to make sure that it is as user-friendly as possible. That is my main goal. I don't want people to get to the site and be like, I don't know how to log in. It needs to be as streamlined as possible, as easy to use. So that's why I want to incorporate some kind of AI or LM feature where you take a picture and it'll auto-generate the listing title, description to streamline the process.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That might be a day 2 thing, but that would be really cool if I would be able to do that. So fingers crossed. I'm sure I can, but we'll see.
And I'm also curious, what you mentioned, you listen to a lot of podcasts, mentioned some of those podcasts. What is on your RSS feed or whatever? I know I have my favorite creators and sources of info, so I'm wondering what yours are.
Yeah, so classic is how I built this, everyone. For me, I have been listening to a lot of female founder podcasts like yours, and one of the ones that I I love is Jen Shi.
Yeah, she's great.
She's amazing. A lot of the time that I use it, I spend on listening to her podcast.
I'm a huge fan of her work. Yeah.
Another one is Brown Girls Unscripted. Anything like South Asian inspired. There's one girl in London. Her name is Preeti. She has a podcast called Preeti Personal. But yeah, I love listening to different like takes and founder podcasts essentially.
Cool. And are there any like YouTube channels or like business owners that are particular inspo for you?
I feel like not YouTube, but I do Instagram. I follow a bunch of founders on Instagram. So like, I don't care about my following to followers ratio. I just will follow all the founders.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So for me, growing up, I didn't really see a lot of like brown girls who were my age doing any kind of brand or creating a company essentially. So back maybe like 5-6 years ago, I remember seeing Payal Kadakia and Deepika Mutiala, who were the founders of Live Tinted and ClassPass. And they were truly like my first inspirations where I'm like, wow, I feel seen. Those are brown girls who are killing it and female like girl bosses. So for me, that was always my inspiration growing up. When I was very young, it was Lily Singh. I loved seeing her content on YouTube. So it's been really nice to see more female founders, specifically South Asian female founders, get into this space.
And how do you feel? That's amazing. Yeah. There's so many aspects that I can relate to as far as wanting to see people that you look up to that look like you or, you know, that you can relate to on that level. I'm really curious as to your experience, both in finance and as a business owner that's in the tech space, because you are working on an app. Do you have any comments on that? Because I also have different age groups represented on this podcast in terms of who I interview. And I think it's really interesting to hear there are unique experiences in different times. And I guess I'm curious to see if you felt any friction. I know you grew up with entrepreneurs in your family. So in that way, perhaps it wasn't so wild for you to embark on a career where you're creating something new. I think that I'm so impressed by that. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if you have any opinions or...
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I feel like I had a very non-traditional path. As a brown girl, I would see my friends who had very like conservative parents and like couldn't necessarily like, travel or do their own thing. It was always like, you have to become a doctor or an engineer. And honestly, even my dad would be like that. He would say, you either need to be a doctor or an engineer and go to Harvard, essentially. That was his main goal for me. My mom, on the other hand, was like, do whatever you want. I don't care. Like, as long as you're happy, like that's kind of how her motto was. And so I was basically raised by a single mother. She was the person that inspired me and mentored me along the way. So I have seen her go through multiple ups and downs. So whenever I had any kind of doubt, I'd always think back and be like, what would my mom do? Because she had overcome so much in her like past. And so for her to thinking back, I was 16 at the time and she decided to quit her job. And that was the only income she had. And we were like technically below poverty level for 2 years. And she wanted to start this company. And she asked me, she's like, can I start this company? Can I take that risk? And for me, I was sure, like, what do I know? I'm 16. I'm just in high school. And I didn't realize that was actually a big pivotal point for me when I saw her do that. And she started this company and she's still running it to this day. It's very successful.
Oh, she's killing it.
Yeah, I'm proud of her.
Your mom is so amazing. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that because I know that you shared that with me when we spoke. And I was like, I hope she'd be down to share with others because I think your mom is so cool.
She is. She's literally the best. I wish I could put her on a podcast because she has so many stories to tell. She has really shaped me to be the woman that I am today. And I don't know, honestly, what I would do without her at this point in time. So for her to like come to me and say that she's so proud of me and she loves what I've been doing, she's always guided me in a way, but she's not too much into like pressuring me. So the day I didn't get into like Thomas Jefferson High School, which is the magnet program in Northern Virginia, she wanted to celebrate with me. She was like, let's go out, let's get dinner, whatever you want, let's celebrate. She always wanted to celebrate my failures, which was funny. And then we had to decide between
And she's
colleges.
Making you more resilient by doing that too. No, that's so beautiful. That's so cool.
She did in such a powerful way. And so for me, it was what do I do for college? She guided me through that process. It was either UC Berkeley or UVA. And I didn't want her to pay that much tuition for me. So I was like, I'm just going to stay in state and we'll figure it out from there. And the rest is history. She's always guided me. She wanted me to get that CS minor. That was her one non-negotiable. She was like, you need to graduate.
Which is amazing. Yes. And I co-sign that.
Yes, I'm
by a
glad
lot, and you do too.
Now
I
looking
know.
back,
Yeah.
thank you, Mom. Like, I'm glad that you made me get that CS minor.
Highly
Yes.
recommend getting a CS
Anything
major,
technical,
minor,
yeah.
anything. Like,
Anything
highly.
technical will
Yeah.
do a long way down the route. So for me, there was never really friction. She was always very supportive of what I did. Went into banking, she was super proud. She was like, okay, cool. But then I told her I don't like banking, and she was like, okay, then quit. So ended
That's
up
cool.
being very like natural. And she always knew, for me, I am a go-getter. I'm an entrepreneur. I will always figure it out. So she was never really concerned about me. And for me also, I know that if I were to like, I know a lot of people are getting laid off right now. Like, that's like a really serious topic within like my friend circle. And if I were to get laid off tomorrow, like, I do know that no matter what, I can find a job just because of the resources and the experiences that I have built up, where I have so many projects under my belt, not just work experience, but also like startups that I've done in the past as well.
That's so cool. And I'm so glad that we talked about your mom and your upbringing a little bit. Actually, something I'm kind of curious about in Virginia, I'm not super familiar with Virginia. What was it like growing up there? Was it like really diverse? And
yeah, that's a great question. So whenever I say Virginia, people always think the South. And for me,
I did kind of think the South.
But for me, being in Northern Virginia is very different than if you go down south. So I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood. Essentially, all the kids were either Indian, Korean, or Chinese, like basically Asian. And so by default, everyone's very competitive. So it's very hard to do well in school. And then eventually I ended up moving counties. So I moved from Fairfax County into Loudoun County, and there it was a little bit more diverse. It was a little less competitive. So it was easier for me to like stand out. And that was one thing my mom really wanted to prioritize. She'd rather have me be, what's that saying, like a big fish in a small pond. And so for me, I stood out more there. I was able to start my own club. So I started the STEM club for girls, where I was able to empower them into STEM related occupations. And that was super fun. And I even got to take that program to India and teach nonprofit organization and teach underprivileged children how to build windmills and use solar energy. And that was such an impactful time in my life. And I was only 16 at that time, which was insane to me when I did that. So for me, I really got to like hone in my community and focus on what was important to me and grow a lot from that.
Cool. That's so cool. And then, sorry to pivot so much, but I'm like, also, you're wearing the most beautiful jewelry. Can you show it off?
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
This is my jewelry. Some of the pieces are from India, and those are
amazing.
Yeah. I love, anytime I wear or go out in general, I always have to wear my statement like Indian pieces.
Cute.
It'll either be my own design. So I was actually going to wear one of my own pieces.
Oh, cool.
So there's an outfit called a kurti or a kurta, and it's basically like almost like a cotton long dress, and you wear it with leggings. And I decided to revamp it. So we have a lot of donations from Revare. A lot of people just want to toss things, so they'll give it to us, and we'll donate a good portion of them. But the outfits that we can't donate, we end up designing. So I used to design them for me and my mom, and I made like 2-piece sets where they could be like blouses and like mini skirts essentially.
Oh, cute.
And they looked really cool, and it was cool to wear like in events in New York and whatnot. So
and also for sustainability, like giving something a second life, and these things are made out of beautiful materials and patterns. What is your relationship actually, like sustainability is important to you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sustainability has always been super important to me. I am an avid thrifter. I love thrifting, always have. Fun fact, my mom was not into thrifting back in the day. And so for me, it's also a big stigma in South Asian culture, to be honest, where South Asians don't necessarily believe in like wearing used attire or having used
My family was similar. Like my mom and my grandma, both from Vietnam, were like, why would you buy old? Where are you wearing old?
We have money. Why don't you buy something new? But for me, it was the sustainability aspect of it. And so I introduced my mom to different thrift stores, and she was like, oh, wait, this is actually kind of cool. They have really cool stuff. And so now she goes to the thrift store more than I do. But for me, I've always been into sustainability. I've learned a lot and done research on my own and just experiences throughout my life where I compost on a daily basis. I recycle. I have literally 3 trash bins in my apartment, my tiny New York City apartment, and people think I'm crazy for it, but I do it because I care. And I love to like also style and fashion myself. I think it's become almost an outlet for me where I get to design my own outfits using fabric and materials that I just have laying around. And I would literally like safety pin clothes together. I don't really know how to stitch, so I would just try to to figure something out and makeshift it, and people would love it. They'd be like, where'd you get that from? And I'm like, shop Revare.
Would you ever manufacture a
I would honestly consider it. Maybe once the app is like super established and that's all kind of taken care of, I would love to like
what maybe
design.
I'm thinking maybe dead stock fabric.
Yeah.
There's a way
Exactly. We have so many kurtis. I would love to almost like mass produce them in a way where we're still being sustainable using old fabric that would have gone to the landfills anyway, but we're just giving it a new life essentially.
Cool. And have you talked to any other companies like around about partnership? I think that you mentioned that there have been some founders that have tried to address this market, some not so successful.
Yeah, so I have talked to actually multiple founders. Even there's one that's based in Australia, and I met her in December, and that was really cool to actually get coffee with her and chat. And she was so open and willing to have like a conversation. I feel like some female founders, they might see me as a threat or be like, I don't want to talk to you necessarily. And I've had people actually message me saying that they don't want to chat with me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's
surprising.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Or were they like, oh, I'm busy?
No, it was like, I believe this would be a conflict of interest.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was very direct.
Hey.
Like, I just want to like
hang.
Yeah. Because for me, I love like talking to people. I love learning from people. Like,
it's like we're both builders.
Exactly. I would love for other people to be building the same platform as me. Like, that would be amazing because I don't want there to be a barrier to entry. I want people to like be able to like have this empowerment to build their own thing essentially. So for me, I love reaching out to female founders, and I feel like most of the time they're always down to meet up, but you never know.
At least a chat. And then in the future, I think that social capital is so important. And there's so many introductions that I want to make to you.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I think something I wanted to make sure we talked about was a challenge that you had and overcoming that challenge, and either something recent or something in the past, maybe even something that you're like, struggling with now. I would love to hear, and I think the audiences, what they generally really like to hear, people who are real about the things that they struggle with and how you address them, how you deal with that.
Yeah. So recently, I actually had an opportunity to work with a really big South Asian event, and they had a board essentially, and all of the board members needed outfits for this event. So they reached out to me. They sent me a super nice long message. We got on a call. We communicated with each other, and we agreed, okay, I'll give them like 15 free saris, and in exchange, they'll just give Revare a shout out essentially at their event. I put in so much effort and energy into coordinating all the outfits, getting them shipped to Austin. My mom brought them from Austin, checked in a bag to Virginia. From Virginia, I drove all the way up to New Jersey. From New Jersey, I had to Uber to my apartment with all this stuff. So I sent them all the pictures, the measurements. They were like, this is all good, ready to go. And then I get ghosted. I was like, what?
Like right before the event or what?
Actually, no, 3 or 4 weeks before the event. And I kept messaging and following up. And also I added extra people like within their organization into a group chat, all read, no response.
That's unprofessional.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah.
This is like an established organization.
It's an established organization. But yeah, they just didn't want to, I don't know what happened.
Are they all stuck in a blizzard somewhere? Because that is the only excuse, you guys.
Essentially, I was like, okay, well, now that I can't give you the outfits, but I have 15 saris that are now in my apartment, in my closet, taking up real estate space, I need to figure out what to do. So when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So I'm going to officially announce that we're going to be doing a photo shoot for the community because I love giving back to my community. And honestly, I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. If that brand didn't want to work with me, then I'm going to work with people who actually do care about Revare. And so...
And you're a small business owner. Come on. Like, send you a note back.
Yeah.
Like,
it's one thing if you like
that's
do it
not
to me,
cool.
but also like it's my mom's time too. I think that's what really like kind of annoyed me and going through that whole process. So after that, I realized, okay, let me just like work with people who I do know that care about the cause and the mission. And so I want to do like an actual photo shoot again and have all of these models like featured on Revare's website and socials.
And make it a big push.
And then afterwards, I want to
get an ad campaign.
I want to do a giveaway. That's going to be like the next thing. So I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to give away these 15 outfits because that was supposed to be for them, but they didn't appreciate it. So I'm going to give it to people who do.
Okay. Well, if you need any help with this event, I want to talk about this more after. Are you going to do it here in New York?
Yeah.
Do you have a date yet? Do you want to
I haven't
shout
put a
anything
date,
out?
But we can pick a day. Maybe like May 30th. brilliant.
Okay, I'll shout it out from our socials.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would love to. But yeah, I think May 30th sounds like a good time.
Okay. I think that this is the universe is giving you like, hey, this is going to be a really cool PR push, going to be talked about on a podcast.
Exactly.
Show them.
Exactly. And you'd be surprised. This has actually happened to me quite a few times. Even if there's agreements put in place with influencers, you just never know. Like I've had one.
Like a signed agreement,
I've had influencers who have literally said that they're going to come to my apartment, do like a whole trial and fitting session. They don't show up and then they try to reschedule. And I'm like, okay, cool. Next thing you know, I see them post at the brand event with another brand that they're wearing. And I'm like, oh, at least like just tell me. I'm like a human too, you know?
Oh, no.
But it is what it is. I mean, I guess
some people just don't know how to be direct. And
I'd rather just have you be upfront and tell me, like, I'm okay if you want to support another brand. Like, I'm all about supporting other brands, but just don't waste my time. That's the only thing I ask. Like, just respect my time and my energy and efforts.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I am providing like an outfit for you to like have.
Yeah. Well, I think the takeaway there's a couple of things, like you being resilient, you being creative about, okay, how do we take this thing that I would be upset about that for a minute. Like
no, I would take it.
Honestly, like, I don't know if I could think productively how upset I would be.
Yeah.
if I had experienced
very recently. And so I was just very honestly upset about it. But it's like, as a small business, it's not like I can really do much about it, right? I can't go chasing down the brand. I don't want to put them in a negative light because at the end of the day, they also are a South Asian brand and they're doing their own thing. And I want to support them. Like, I truly do.
I think the universe is creating this, okay, she needs to have a PR push. And I think the weather's getting better.
Exactly.
Shooting is going to be great in New York.
It was a sign.
Yeah.
I truly do believe, though, rejection is redirection.
100%.
That's always been like my motto. So if something does go wrong, like I will always figure out a way to pivot.
There's another episode this season with one of my guests. The takeaway of her episode was rejection is redirection. So this is like a crazy, she's going to love hearing this.
Yes, full circle.
All right, I'll introduce you to her too. She's actually in fashion as well.
Oh, would love to.
Yeah. Well, we are actually, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. And she's so lovely because I'm going to just be real actually, because we were going to meet up and then I couldn't make it and I just felt so bad. And I was like, oh my God, what a horrible first impression. I'm just being real. And then, but she was so understanding and sweet. And thank you so much for being down to like meet with me in the end and like be interviewed on this podcast. And is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? I'm so grateful for you to be on. So I just
thank you. No, I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad we were able to make this work out.
Yeah.
Who would have thought I'd DM you like literally last week and we'd be filming this podcast right now.
Yeah. And you're so lovely. You're just like, you're such an awesome person. And I really think that your story is so cool. What you're trying to do is cool and authentic. And the way you're going about it is so smart. And we're going to link all of her social media because I want everyone to follow. I just feel like Revare's going to go places, man. I'm excited.
I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you. Bye.